Here we are again, a Rebel Therapy Podcast, episode 22. Amazing. And we're talking about the magic of disappointment. Not sure if it's magical, but it's definitely present these days, I would say.
Yeah, it feels like it's prevalent in the stew of emotions we're all kind of swimming in right now.
Yeah, so we're talking about on these podcasts, perhaps bringing a little more of what is actually happening in the world into the space between us, and being able to talk about that, because on one hand, it comes up all the time. Certainly in my life, it comes up a lot with my clients. I think it probably does with yours as well. So the Gestalt thing is all about relationality, right? The idea that I'm impacting you, you're impacting me, that kind of thing. And so we are also being impacted by, to your point, the stew that we're all swimming in. And that includes what's happening south of our border for sure, and some of the things that are happening within the borders of Canada and just the world in general, and the city of Toronto where we both live. Yeah, so bringing more of that context into the discussions that we have here.
Yeah, and that was one of the themes we stumbled upon, right? Profound disappointment. How do you work with that? How do you move with that? How do you exist? How do you coexist with disappointment, right? And it's like, we're talking about it in terms of the context of the world or politics, but also it is very relational, right? Anyone that's close to you or you've been vulnerable with has the potential to disappoint you. It's like going from macro to micro, and we're both always negotiating both in our day-to-day lives. I'm curious, how does disappointment show up for you in your body? What's the actual body feeling when you're disappointed?
What's interesting for me, and I think this speaks to, we've talked about this before, we all come up with strategies when we're kids to navigate our worlds and survive. For me, when I am disappointed, it's taken me a while to recognize disappointment, because what comes up first is anger. I notice that I get angry. I get irritated, and then even more so, I get kind of angry and a little bit resentful. And there's sort of a feeling of, you know what, fine, screw you, get away from me, whatever. And then when I'm able to support myself enough to understand what's happening, it's actually covering up a real disappointment or a hurt underneath. But initially, it's that, you know what, if you're going to hurt me, then fuck you, I'm going to hurt you first. Or not hurt you, but I'm going to remove myself from you, and I don't want anything from you. That's it. I'm fine.
So is the body feeling actually just like pushing away from the person or the thing or whatever, or like pushing yourself back? Or
it's like a tug of war between pushing, like forcing someone away, right? I'm going to create space for myself and also withdraw. So it's kind of both. It's a push and a pull, if that makes sense. Mostly because I'm a powerful adult, I don't do the push. I usually just do the withdraw. I'm like, okay. And then I just stay in my house. When I was growing up, I was much more comfortable with anger, or at least that was what I used as a way to express how I was feeling. And even now, I think there's something about anger feeling more productive or more powerful than hurt. Hurt feels obviously much more vulnerable, which was the difficulty for me. So what that does in my practice is it comes up a lot with teenagers, because often I'll see a teenager who is showing up as very angry. And in almost every case, it seems clear to me that underneath the anger is actually hurt, right? It is a very sort of teenage response. What about for you? How does it show up for you?
Well, I just wanted to say there is something primal about that, like anger response. Protective, absolutely. It's like, you've hurt me, you've let me down somehow. I'm not going to let you do, like, I need to remove myself so that you can't continue to hurt me in that specific way, right? And it's almost like I picture a wounded animal. It's like you go back to your cave and you're just like, I need to heal up until I'm ready to engage with the world again and feel like I'm not going to break apart if somebody hurts or disappoints me again. For me, in my body, there's definitely like a feeling of like actual, like a drop, like in my stomach, like it's almost like being dropped from a ride, that feeling, but you really weren't expecting it. It's almost like the bottom slips out. Right? So there is a bit of an unmoored feeling, like really ungrounded. It's difficult for me to almost locate myself in that. It's hard to explain. What I've fallen into sometimes is when somebody drops me, I kind of will drop myself. If someone shows me that I don't matter, then I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't matter. My first instinct sometimes is to agree with the hurt or the disappointment, or just look at it from their point of view. That's taken me years in therapy and experience to like, actually, my anger is a way to connect back to myself. Like, no, that's not okay. Actually, I do matter, even if the argument is only internally, but there is this sense of rallying back to holding my self-worth or my boundary. For me, it's like this actual dropping sensation. And it's one of the ones I dislike the most. So I'm really reluctant to allow people to disappoint me.
Yeah, fair enough. It actually sounds like you are often surprised. The drop makes me think that you're surprised.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if we use your analogy of the roller coaster, let's say, the drop is coming. Even if you're not surprised, it doesn't change the impact of the drop on your body, even if you knew it was going to happen, right?
I mean, maybe not I don't know, because it's like I like riding roller coasters, right? It's
Oh, me
like,
too, actually.
when I know that it's coming, it's like I've agreed to it. There's consent at the beginning of the roller coaster that this is what I'm signing up for. It's going to be up and down. I get what you're saying in terms of that's what you're signing up for when you're going to be close to any other human, right? Where there's going to be some ups and downs. But
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really good question. I'm of two minds. If I think of my old self when I was young, I had a hard time allowing space for those feelings to coexist, right? That, here's somebody who loves me and also they will disappoint me and vice versa, right? It's impossible as human beings to not be disappointing and then also be disappointed by the people that you love. And yet there's a very sort of childish, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but I mean a very young, almost Disneyfied kind of idea that if you love me, you'll never disappoint me. And I think that for me, I got stuck there for a long time. So when I'm talking to teenagers, I can relate to that particular wound because I think it is a way to grow up, or it's part of growing up, possibly being able to hold both of those feelings at the same time, right? And know that this person that you love, the fact that they are also a disappointment at times doesn't change that they love you. And how can you hold both at the same time? Does that make sense? It's taken me
oh,
longer as an
absolutely.
adult to sort of come to terms with that.
Yeah, and I think that's where I arrived to, but it's like the first instinct. And I guess it is just that survival kind of young teenage instinct, right? Of just being like, the disappointment negates the love.
Anger. For some people, it's anger, right? Like, can you be angry at me and love me at the same time? I think for a lot of us as kids, no, it doesn't make any sense. And then as you get a bit older, you realize, oh no, I can be angry at you and also still love you. It's much more nuanced and complicated, right?
Absolutely. It is rare that we're holding one emotion at a time, right? Oftentimes we think things should have these clean edges of I am just angry. Like it is
Yep.
boxed into this anger thing. So if I just deal with my anger, I'm over the thing. But then it's like there's sadness and maybe there's hope. There's just like a mix of things that feel like they don't go together. But here they all are, right? So it's like, how do you live with that complexity and seeming contradiction all the time? I feel like being a human is just full of so many contradictions, like internally.
Yeah. It makes me think of moving from primary colors to blended colors, right? Where you've got the complementary and whatever. I don't know. I'm not a painter, but you get my point. Anger feels very clean. And yet, as an adult human, I don't think emotions are often that clean. They're usually, maybe it's predominantly anger with tinges of sadness or disappointment or resentment.
Yeah,
So it's much more nuanced, I think. There's a broader palette we're working with.
absolutely. Right. And it's like, I think we would like to like lock it down as like, it's this primary color red anger, right? But then when you think about all the different shades of red that exist in nature or in the color palette for painting or just those blended colors, it's like there's so many different reds. And it's like you want even your own anger to show up as the same red or something, right? And you're like, oh no, but this one's kind of pink. And you're just like, what do I do with the pink anger?
Yeah. If we continue with this painting metaphor, the idea was we're surrounded by disappointment at the moment. I mean, we're surrounded by a lot of things, but today we're talking about disappointment. And how do you deal with that? How do you coexist with that? How do you try to maintain, and I think this is what ultimate mental health is, how do you maintain as much of a balance as you can while being honest about the disappointment that you're swimming in? And I think for me, one of the ways that works for me, and I try to talk to my teen clients about it, is the richness of it. So again, you go back to that painting metaphor. Just red is exciting, cool. I love red, obviously. It's one of my favorite colors, right? But a painting with more than just red is a little more interesting, I would argue. And I think that if we can remember that even the bad adds color to our lives, I don't want to sound too naive, but I think all of that said, if there's a way to remember that the full gamut of human experience is what leads to the richness of our lives, that maybe it's a way to incorporate some of the disappointment while still being honest about it, but not letting it engulf you. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's like, how do you allow different things to coexist at the same time, right? And like I said, see things that seemingly contradict each other. It's like when you're feeling disappointed by the world, like you're swimming in a stew of disappointment where like everybody is, but then you laugh at something. It's not a fixed state.
Thing is.
Right? Things are constantly shifting. You may be profoundly disappointed in one moment, and that might even play in the background. Definitely is for me.
Yep,
But
I hear
that's
that.
not the only shade of my life, and that's not the only shade of the world.
It might be the predominant color palette at the moment, but there are other colors in there. To your point, the only thing we know as human beings is that nothing is constant. So even if I lean into my disappointment and really make a point of like swimming in my disappointment, eventually it's going to change. I can't sustain that level of disappointment forever. To your point, I'll laugh at something or something will be silly. It doesn't matter, but we can't just stay in disappointment forever. So I think that's part of the antidote as well, right? It's coming in waves, absolutely, but every wave crests, every wave passes, and ideally you're still standing after that wave, right?
Yeah, definitely. We've talked about the idea of getting stuck in a particular emotion, right? And that actually that's really hard to sustain. It's easier to maintain an active fighting against an emotion than it is to actually feel the emotion,
And
right? So
yet, if you just feel it, it passes much faster, as we've
exactly.
discovered.
So it's like if you're feeling sadness from somebody disappointing you or the world disappointing you, you can
Or just
be
the
like,
world being disappointing, period.
yeah,
And
exactly. You could
the way people are choosing to show up for each other. That's what disappoints me, I think.
if you're in a constant state of avoiding that feeling of disappointment or that
Yeah.
sadness or hurt or whatever,
Denying.
that it's really tiring. You can maintain that in a lot of different ways. You can get really creative about how you're denying how you're feeling. But if you actually sit in the feeling of it, allow it to just kind of be, like you said, it'll be a wave, hopefully, and you'll still be standing. And there probably will be another wave.
There will be.
I don't know how much choice there is around this. Once you become aware of it and you can feel yourself either pushing against something or allowing it to happen, and if you have some negotiation with that with yourself.
I think it's the choice to surf or not. Am I going to
Yeah.
surf or try to push back the wave? Most of us know the experience of trying to push back the wave. I'm suggesting surf it. You stay above it as much as you can. You're still impacted by it, but it doesn't carry you away. And you're still standing when the wave has crested. There's more to life than just disappointment, even in the dark.
I think it is such a good analogy because you're going to surf the wave until it ends and brings you somewhere different. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
until it ends, not until you end
it
it.
ends.
That's right.
Yep.
Despite how powerful we think we are, I don't control when the wave ends. It controls me. If I can stay above, keep my balance, then I will be in a different place at the end of that wave, but I'll still be standing. I'm mixing metaphors, but you get my point.
So it's like if we bring in the actual thing of disappointment, how do you allow yourself to surf in your life with that wave as it's happening while maintaining your balance? What do you use
Yeah.
to maintain your balance in that situation? I'm curious for you, when you're feeling disappointment, how do you keep your balance?
I would actually put that to our listeners. I would love to hear from other people. How do they maintain balance in the face of the troubles that we currently find ourselves in? For me, it's nature for sure. It's water, solitude, it's time alone, it's music, it's doing productive things with my hands that allow my brain to chill out, like gardening or painting my walls, staying busy, but not spinny, keeping my body moving, going to the gym, keeping in motion in a gentle way. To me, that's the image of staying above the wave or staying on top of the wave. It's still moving me along, but I'm maintaining my balance. What about for you?
A lot of the same things, I would say. Definitely solitude is a big part of that. Like, I need to be able to feel my internal balance and connection with myself.
Yeah.
My dog is really regulating because they have their own rhythm, right? My life is built around the rhythm of him. I find that very regulating. If I'm really disappointed, my dog's like, I'd still dinner though. You still gotta walk me. I don't mean that in a your feelings don't matter kind of way. He doesn't understand that, but that's not his reality, right? How do I support him and support myself, and that
So it's
balance?
the concept of service, right? When I want to retreat, if I can focus a little bit on service, whether that's in service of my cats or my kid or volunteering or my clients or my friends or my family, it helps me maintain my balance. So we've talked about that before. Maybe we can explore that in a future one. Maintaining balance requires a whole variety of supports. Part of the answer to our question of how do you stay afloat is taking time to figure out which supports work for you, because different ones will work at
Yeah.
different times, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you need to have different options. There is something about a moving of energy. Oftentimes, I will sing, play piano. Actual vibration, I find really soothing, whether I'm making it or with an instrument. But it's like that's not going to work for every moment. So, how do you develop these tools or connections to things that feel valuable to you? Like there's an intrinsic value to it that I find really tethering. Connecting with people I love, like you, it's a tether for me as well. It helps balance me too.
So I guess that's the question. People who are listening, people who would like to comment, what's your tether? What keeps you tethered? I'd love to know.
It's very important.
Thank you for the tether.
You too, as always.
Ride that wave, and I'll see you next time. Bye.